Have you ever wanted to make one of those Graphghans? You know, the ones with the pictures, with the names, with logos. This is how you do it. This is an all-in-one super jumbo video on being able to make a Graphghan right from start to finish. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today is an all-in-one super video, and today is all about doing the Graphghans right from start to finish. Everything that you need to know to be successful. You've seen those Afghans on Facebook. You see how many likes they get. Let me show you how exactly it is done. Welcome to section number 1. I've changed the photograph on this side, and what we're doing today is that we're going to learn how to read a crochet graph. Now, if you've never read one before, you may not know the process of being able to do it. I'm going to show you some key element tips on being able to follow along. It doesn't matter if you're right or left-handed. You can follow along with these graphs very easily because it's just a matter of understanding what is your front side and what is your back side. I know, I won't even go there. So in this section, learn how to read a crochet Graphghan. So to start off with any crochet Graphghan, you need to start off with a graph, and we're going to be teaching you how to make the graphs in the second part of this series, but I'm teaching you how to read one first, because if you don't know how to read one, you're not going to be sure how to make one. If you're using these from the crochetcrowd.com, just ignore these bottom instructions just down like so. This is for something different, but you can still use these graphs in order to help you. So what you're going to do with these graphs is that you actually have to look at it and read from left to right or right to left. It doesn't matter. You just have to commit to an area for which you start. So for example, say that I want to start off 2 squares over. I can see that this is somewhat shaded, so I want to start off 2 squares, so I want this to be my border, just like so. And I want 2 squares down here, so therefore this is my starting point. I'm just looking to where I want my project to start. So this would be my starting right here. And then I have to finish off. See how I had 2 squares here? I want to finish 2 squares off on the other side. So I'm going to stop here. So this is how I have, and then up here when I go to move it up, you can see the top of the M is here, and I want to be 2 squares above, and I just want to follow this right to there. And then again on the same on the other side, so just following this up somewhere here, and it's right here. So by the time I get my project done, it'll be all within inside this box. But where do we start? Well, these particular graphs is that every time there's a box, it means there's a single crochet. So even if I don't have written instructions, I can still follow this graph because I can just count the number of boxes. So I can just go and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So I'm going to write 31 here. This here is 30 based on this spot here, so I could have actually just worked at it if I really wanted to. So what I want you to do is that we have 31. So where do we start on this project? We need to create a chain, but you cannot create a chain that's 31 stitches, and you're thinking to yourself, well, why? That makes no sense. Well, remember that when you're going to single crochet along a chain, you have to single crochet second chain from the hook. So if I want my number of stitches across to be 31, I have to add 1, just like so. So you have to make sure that your chain is whatever the boxes is, but add 1 so that you can come back and single crochet. That chain never counts as this first row of boxes. That's just the foundation. That's just to get yourself started. It's not until you start single crocheting on top of that chain where you actually start filling in these boxes. As a personal preference, and because of the way that I read books and read anything, is that I read from left to right. So all I'm just going to do, just out of preference, is that I'm going to put an arrow on this side and start here. Okay? So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to start. So whenever I do my chain of the 31 plus 1, when I go to look at this graph, I'm just going to start here, and my single crochet second chain from the hook will be here. Okay, and we're just going to single crochet ourselves all the way across. You will notice that between this spot and this spot that there's no color change. So therefore I can use the same color going all the way across. And I'm kind of old school. There's other people that like to have sticky notes and they like to put it on top of their project. So if they're going in this direction, they will put down the sticky note so that it's showing them the direction that they're going. And then once they come back in the other direction, they like to turn it around and show it like this. I don't like that. I get lost and I really start second guessing myself. I don't trust myself. As scary as that sounds. So what I do is that once I get a line that's done in single crochet, and the first one, I go with a highlighter, and kind of old school, look at this. I get a highlighter and I highlight that I have finished that complete line. There's no doubt about it at this point that if I look back on this, if I get up to go to the washroom or anything, when I come back I know that I've done that line. When I go to start the next line, I will put an arrow that I'm going in this direction. Okay, so you can label it all in advance if you want to, but I like to do it this way. And then there's no color changes here, so it's the same color that I'm going, and then I'm gonna come single crochet all the way back across that chain or across that row, and once I have that done I just highlight it with a highlighter just like so, and I know that I'm complete. Now the next row is where the game story changes, and this is where we start getting into color changes in order to make the M shape. So what I like to do here is that we need to start counting over just so that we can establish where the first one is. So I've now finished this line here, so I'm ready for the next, so I will put my arrow that I'm going in that direction. And I'm going to count the number of boxes it takes to get this first one here. So with the same color I'm going to single crochet, so what I would do in advance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. What I would do, I write the number 27. Okay, nobody is gonna kill you for writing on your own pattern. So what I would do then is that you're going to single crochet and count out 27 single crochets, but never finish that 27th all the way because we have to do a color change. Now this is the very first time that this yarn that we're using here is going to stop. We're not going to be using this same yarn on this side of the M. So this yarn is going to stop here. We're going to start on the new color, whatever color you choose, right here. We're then going to do our 2 stitches, end that color there, and we're gonna start a new bobbin right here and finish the remaining just like so. So at this particular point we're gonna have 3 bobbins working, and we're going to be talking about more of that in the project. So basically once you have that completely done and you get all that highlighted like so, and you're done. So then you're ready for the next row. So the next row here, you can see that these boxes are in the same line as here. So you can either count back 2 or you can just look for it because it actually makes a lot of sense on where it is. So you're going to start off with the color that you're using on this side of the M. You're going to finish that color. You're going to add this color that's down here. You're going to finish that color here. And then this color here is gonna move up, and then you're going to use it for the remainder of the line coming all the way across. And again, that makes a lot of sense later on in this tutorial. So where these patterns get a lot more complicated is when you have multiple stops. So for example, say I draw a line just through here. So basically you would have a color that you're using here, a color here, 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 and here. There's actually I think a total of 9 different spools that we're going to be using at one time. The wonderful thing about it is that when we start moving up we're going to start losing some of the spools because the colors start running out, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that later, but that's where the complication really exists on the amount of yarn. We're going to be joining and basically dropping yarn all the time, so even if you don't have enough yarn on your spools it doesn't really matter because you're going to be learning techniques on being able to hide everything in. I will tell you on the major M that I did, there's lots of beginning and ending spools within major sections here, and you don't even notice it because it's so well hidden, and that's just because we're looking for the technique in order to do so. In the next section I'm going to be showing you how to make these kind of patterns idea, and basically it's my logo, and then I basically printed my logo, and then I printed graph paper on top of my logo. And so basically when you're looking at stuff like this, I know for example that each one of these boxes equals 20. So I would probably do 20, 40, 60, 80, and hopefully my math works out. And I would do it up on the other side as well. So you have your 20, 40, 60, 80. And essentially what happens is that when you're looking at these graphs here, even though they're harder to read and that they're so much smaller, this is a really a great size Afghan. So for example, I think this is 140 stitches in the height, and I think there's 200 stitches in the length. So it's actually a fair size Afghan. It's the only way really to do it effectively is that you just have to pay attention to where you are. And we're gonna be getting more into how to make graphs, because we need to make sure that all of these colors are following where they should. And essentially what we're going to be doing, just like you would start off here, you'd start off here and you'd go in this direction, and then you go all the way to the end, and then you come back in the other direction, and you're just looking for the major colors changes in order to make it. So when we actually start picking up onto the fuchsia, the white that we've been using across is gonna stop here. We're gonna start the fuchsia, and then we'll come all the way back and then pick up the white again and drop the fuchsia at the same spot and continue all the way. It gets kind of complicated within the actual logos itself, but you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and there's tips on being able to make these really effective at the same time. In reading graphs, you would think to yourself, the designers have screwed up when they provide charts that are only in half. This part of the tutorial I'm going to show you how to read this kind of graph. It's actually very, very simple. So you get this idea, and essentially when you looked at the big Afghan, you'll see that the butterfly is actually two halves. So where's the second half if they're only going to provide the first? You know, if you try to print a second copy of this, it's going to look identical, but the answer is actually so simple it's not even funny. And let me show you. So in these kind of charts, what's going to happen is that you're going to move along from one side, and you're going to crochet and follow the instructions just like so. So when you get to the halfway mark here, you're thinking, where's the other half of the graph? It's right in front of your eyes. All you need to do is just simply go back on the same line that you're working on. So it's like a typewriter. You're gonna get all the way to the outside just like so, and then to do the other side of the butterfly, you're gonna follow the exact same line going back all the way there. So it's a very, very simple idea. So when they have patterns like this where the pattern is identical on both sides of the center line, on the same line you will crochet all the way across using that same line. Just follow the same boxes going back in the other direction, and you'll have the other half of your butterfly. So I will end you here at this particular section number 1 and move on to section number 2 on how to be able to create your own graphs next.